Hey everyone. So, with the release of the most recent trailer for Kingdom Hearts 3, I figured since a lot of people are asking that I'll make a little analysis and thoughts video on this. It's not going to be super in-depth, I'll just talk about kind of what I'm seeing and what I like and what I'm worried about, and where I'm thinking it's heading. So, we'll talk about mostly the gameplay, but, first let me just say it was a great trailer. There was a lot of story, a lot of combat. Both sides were probably happy. This is exactly how you do a trailer. I was very impressed with what they did. So, first thing to note is don't jump to conclusions with the trailer. Things can still change. You haven't played it yourself. You don't know how it's going to play. All we have is 0.2 to go off of, which this doesn't even play completely like it. So we don't want to jump to conclusions too fast there. Secondly, a lot of people like me, you know how much I love 2FM mechanically. I also don't want this game to play exactly like that, so don't get that impression either while I'm discussing of what I'm seeing. It'd be nice if it has a lot of the strong mechanics that 2FM has, but for example, the command styles, that's not inherently bad just because there's not like normal drive forms anymore. So anyway, let's go into it. Let's back up a bit in the trailer. So we start with, well, it's a little too far. We start with seeing like a little bit of a on-rails thing, and then you see this kind of like flow motion movement. These worlds are supposed to be pretty open, which is very unique to the series. Usually it's pretty enclosed rooms, save a few in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. So it's kind of neat to see that they're making them a little bit more open and going back again. I'm not sure like how automated this really is and such. We won't know until we're playing, most likely. But it's kind of neat to see that there's some kind of cool movement. That's something I was a little worried about in 0.2. The movement was pretty garbage in that game. Some of it could have been because Aqua just is slow as a movement character, but Sora right there, very fast. Probably flow motion to thank for that. But I do hope Sora is as fast and slick as he can be in 2FM. So we'll see where that takes us. So moving on. I'll skip to here. See a fight. Playing it a little bit slow. Something you might notice right away is that he already has the Keyblade for this world, and that could be just a trailer purpose thing, but we've seen it a few times in other trailers that you have the world's Keyblade really early, and that probably might be the way they're going about it too. And reason being, because everything in this game for attacks, well, not everything, but a great amount of the combat seems to be tied to what Keyblade you have, so I guess it would make sense if maybe they give it to you either really early in the world or as soon as you enter even, which would be pretty interesting. So we'll see what they do with that. So let's go back a bit to the other combat sequence. So as we know, these command styles, which people are calling forms 2, are tied to your Keyblade. Similar to BBS, depending on what you do, you get a certain command style. In this, depending on the Keyblade you have, you get, let's go back a tiny bit. Right now we're in the 2-gun arrows command style, and we built up another finisher, and now we go into the second phase of that command style, Magic Lancer. So it modifies your combos, and it has its own finisher as well. That's pretty cool. And you're not forced to use it either, which was a huge flaw in BBS, where you pretty much couldn't play specific ways, or you might get really bad command styles that were really bad. Shoutouts to Ghost Drive. So that's cool that it's technically optional, although the problem is then what are your other options? I'm a little bit worried that basic combos might not be that great, but we haven't seen enough. Once again, going back, I'm not sure exactly where in the video this happens, but Sora actually gets hit once during one of these attacks and during some of the flashiness of it, so that's one of my big concerns, is that it's too flashy and not safe enough. basically in BBS and DDD, you had commands. Unfortunately, if you were playing on a high difficulty and even under leveled at all, if you tried to use those, you would usually get destroyed. You would have to resort to safe commands, such as like, you know, the surges, or like in mob fights, you would just magnet spam everything and stuff like that. You wouldn't dare to use some of the flashier, long startup ones or anything like that, or you would just get destroyed. So that's what I'm a little worried about in these trailers, is they're going really overboard with the flashiness, and it looks really cool and great. But it would be unfortunate if they were unusable on the hardest difficulty because they were just completely unsafe. So that's something I'm worried about. So let's talk about this little tiny boss guy here. Not actually tiny, but irrelevant. So this surprised me. There's actually like knockback and stagger on this guy, I guess, depending on the situation. And it showed a nice guard counterattack, which that's something that I think is great about 2FM that they haven't really been doing much of recently, especially with the handhelds, is being able to dodge and counter or block and counter. This is very important to how a player learns and reacts to a fight. If you learn a move's guardable and you can counter it, then you should be very rewarded for that. It shouldn't be like, you know, random. If you take a hit or try to go for a hit, you know, bosses shouldn't forever be super armored with moves that come out extremely fast and can just hit you for no reason. So glancing at this, it was nice to see that the bosses, even a big bosses usually don't stagger in the series, so I was surprised to see that. Although, noticing right there, you have your kind of like floaty combos going on there. Also, shoutouts to, I guess, having Combo Master already. And then Sora's kind of just wide open, so until we actually play it, it's kind of hard to tell like how that's going to feel. I do miss how fluid and fast combos were in 2FM. Like if you ever do a combo on the ground with like slide dash into like a flash step slap shot and then finisher, it's very fast, fluid, relatively safe if there's other enemies around some of the time, which says that I kind of miss that. You know, they got away from what made physical attacks really good. Anyway, let's talk about, I guess, so we haven't seen much, like, I don't know much about, like, revenge value based on this or whatever, and a lot of people really miss the revenge value system at 2FM because, like I said, it really rewarded the players. And, you know, it did also technically make it a little bit more predictable, but it was in a sense where it rewarded you well for learning it. I didn't really get that impression in the handheld games because they just made the bosses have super armor half the time or only be able to be hit once. So that's my concern. I want more bosses that I'm kind of seeing here where it looks like it does seem to reward you for learning it. And it's nice to see those combos being able to go that distance as well, by the way. I'll play that again, I guess. So, you know, potentially good stuff we're seeing here, with a little bit of concern about potential floaty combos getting you wrecked, as well as flashiness of combos not being safe at all. But still some good stuff we saw there. Moving on, I guess. Let's see, we have Toy Story World. Basically, it shows some more of the same stuff we've already seen. He can do what Aqua can do in 0.2. I like that impact move, which is pretty much looks like some sort of like flow motion thing from 3D. I like that. That's cool that you can do that somewhat close to the ground. I hope it's not like ridiculous spammable broken or anything, because that would be kind of unfortunate if that's like an easy way to just hit everything. It would also be unfortunate if you randomly just get hit out of it anyway, so probably they should work hard on balancing that. I'm not going to talk about the story part here. Not much to say other than cool, it's Toy Story. Okay, here we go. So, next gameplay part, we have a nice open area, or at least what it looks like it. Like I said, that's pretty unique to the series to have like these giant areas. Like 3D kind of started it, although there was a lot of like nothing going on in some of the open rooms, so maybe this game will fix that. There's still probably going to be invisible walls, like those houses in the background. You probably can't go all the way to them. You also need fast movement to compensate for these large rooms too, you know. On 3D, you had like flow motion was pretty fast, super glide with soar up really fast. So I hope they kind of retain some of that. If it's like 0.2 movement, that would be embarrassing for this, but I don't think it's going to be based on what we've seen. We've seen fast flow motion movement around, so open world, completely good idea then. I think a lot of the first thing people notice here is that you have more party members. That's cool. I'm not really against that at all either. It does make sense. The game should be able to handle it now. On PS2, knowing from back when I used to do hacked fights, it definitely would have trouble if you tried to have too many party members. So now it looks like you can have at least 4. So you have, you know, Buzz, Woody, and the other 2. So, or at least 2 normal party members. That will probably be the whole game, most likely. Let's talk about command styles some more. So, some people are hating on it already. I think that's too much of a conclusion to jump to already, because maybe they have a bad taste in their mouth from BBS, and I would agree, but it kind of looks neat the way they're going about it. So let's go back a bit. Alright, so we're jumping into the battle. He already has a finisher to get him into a command style. And there he uses it. And it looks like because he has that Keyblade, it's Boost Hammer. And, you know, it changes your combos completely. Is it safe? I'd be worried about that, like I said. You don't have, like, you know, Magna here, so you have a ton of enemies. Like, how do you safely deal with these on, like, higher difficulties? Like here, they don't really seem to be doing much, though, but you know, early game enemies probably, who knows. A lot to be questioned here. The combos themselves seem pretty effective. So that's pretty cool to see, and you build up another finisher, as you see here, and go into a further command style that should be tied to the Keyblade, Drill Punch. Kind of cool what they show here, where Sora can go underneath the ground, and, you know, punch the ground, of course. That's kind of unique to see as well. They haven't really ever done anything like that before. So, they build up another finisher to show off, I believe, here. Of course, I'm playing in slow motion. I think the one thing that a lot of people are concerned about is that since it's tied to your Keyblade, if you don't get to change it, then that's going to kind of make gameplay a bit repetitive, I feel. If in this world, you're kind of... I mean, you can change to other Keyblades, I imagine, at this point in the game, but you're kind of stuck with it in every fight. I think it would be great if they allowed you to change your Keyblade on the fly, which I don't see why they wouldn't let you. That seems like a no-brainer to me, to be able to do that. I don't know if they actually will, but that would definitely solve the problem of the combat being repetitive with the forms, or, sorry, the command styles. So, hopefully they incorporate that. It does, if you can do that, it will be very dynamic. So, but it does, as it is still pretty dynamic combat. Like, you can just do just your combos changing significantly in command styles, just like in BBS, if they're actually good. And there's probably the second finisher. It's too early to jump to a conclusion and say, like, it sucks or it's really good. We'll just have to see. Just to talk a little bit about this part, I didn't really care for it because they showed off being able to enter into the mechs, basically. And then it turns into, like, a mini game, I guess, if you do that. And as some of you might know, I think Kingdom Hearts has some of the worst mini games I've ever played in video games before. So I'm not, like, too interested in what I'm seeing here. To be honest, but I'm not sure if that's some kind of requirement to have to do that. I mean, yeah, sure, it's neat. As you can see, he can jump from each one, but all you do is go back into another mini game. So I assume this is like maybe some sort of like mini boss fight or something. We'll see. We'll see. So to wrap it up, basically on what we've seen so far, there are definitely like pluses and minuses. I'm really worried about, like I said, the flashiness of the moves taking over like the safety options, but also it shouldn't be so safe that you can spam something and be completely invincible either. In 2FM, we get around a lot of stuff by, like for crowd fights, we have stuff like Chicken Little, we have Magnet, we can use like Stitch as well, use like Genie. We have all these different options we can do for boss fights. You know, we have a bunch of different forms, a bunch of different magic we can use. I hope this game does not have anything that is like super overpowered or broken, and you know, with patching now they could always change that, but I don't want it to be so that they patch it like weeks after release and then everyone's already played it and then that's their opinion of it, because you can't really force people to repeatedly play through a game after you patch it like a month later. And notice that combo right there, you know, it's kind of cool that it chases them as far, but it did look, you know, pretty floaty. And, you know, basic combos in 2FM were pretty slow and floaty as well at first until you get combo modifiers. That's why combo modifiers are so important to see. You know, but it, like I said, it's just too early to really just assume. I would love if they would release an actual demo. No, I'm not talking about 0.2 because that's Aqua. And if it plays like Aqua, that's bad. Because her combos are pretty slow and clunky with pretty bad range. So we hope it doesn't end up like that. I think that covered mostly everything I wanted to say. I mean, I may add more into the description of the video if I forget. We'll just have to see. I want them to release a demo so I could get my hands and see how it feels, you know? That'd be the best thing they could do before a game release, because then maybe if they take feedback, we can speak up if there's any, like, severe problems. Anyway, that's how I felt about this trailer. I'm not like at all disappointed. It was a really good trailer. Combat seems has its pros and cons, but without actually playing, can't jump to conclusions. Remember that. We'll see where it goes from here. Hopefully, like I said, demo. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching. That's how I felt about the trailer.